How do you know if you're a toxic person? You're toxic if you expect people to do things for you just because you want them to. That's entitlement. You're toxic if you expect people to change just because you want them to. You're toxic if you hold people responsible for things in your life that are your responsibility. You're toxic if you vent a lot, dumping your emotional garbage onto others and draining them of energy. There's a right and a wrong way to share emotions. You're toxic if you gossip and are judgmental of other people. That's projection. You're toxic if you talk about other people's problems or personal issues when they're not around and they have not given you permission to do so. That is disloyalty. You're toxic if you're constantly negative or pessimistic. You're toxic if you brag about yourself continually but don't acknowledge other people's achievements or even undermine other people's achievements. That is arrogance. You're toxic if you get upset at other people's opinions, wants, or needs when they conflict with your own. You're toxic if you always think you know better, even on topics that other people know more about. You're toxic if you give the silent treatment. You're toxic if you are passive-aggressive. You're toxic if you give ultimatums. You're toxic if you cause unnecessary drama out of boredom or attention-seeking. You're toxic if you keep moaning and groaning about you do this or you do that and you never get anything back. You're toxic if you are always giving your opinion but won't listen to others. That is superiority. You're toxic if you need to be everyone's center of attention but you feel bad when someone else gets attention. That's attention-seeking. You're toxic if you are manipulative to get your way. You're toxic if you try to control others by telling them exactly what they should do, what they should eat, where they should go, how they should wear their hair, how they should dress. Trying to control others like that is toxic. You're toxic if you're jealous of other people's success, friendships, looks, or achievements. You're toxic if you ruin the mood of other people because you're in a bad mood and you don't know how to keep it to yourself or deal with it in a healthy way. That's selfishness. If you feel like this is you need to take an honest look at yourself and ask yourself some questions. Am I often negative? Is it everyone else's fault? Do I feel bad when other people are happier, more successful, or better looking than me? Do I always have to be right about everything? Do I hate when someone corrects me? If your answer is yes, then you could be the toxic person, whether you know it or not. Maybe someone in your life is toxic toward you. Sometimes people like this are like a narcissistic person, or they're just used to growing up in an environment where toxicity is normal and they never learned consideration for other people. But with introspection, empathy, and just a good look inside, it is possible to change. But first, you have to take responsibility. Toxic people do not like taking responsibility. A toxic person is entitled. Remember, there's a difference, there's a difference between feeling negative emotions and acting them out. We all feel negative emotions from time to time, but the difference is, do you act them out? It's your actions that define you. Oh my gosh, I need some water. If you have someone like this in your life who is toxic and they're unwilling to change, the most loving thing to do might be just to leave. Staying with a toxic person enables their behavior and also hurts your emotional and mental health at the same time. If a toxic person is abandoned by a friend or a loved one or a partner, then it might force them to wake up and realize their behavior. In some cases, people will just never change, and it's better to just fill your space with a person who's loving, caring, empathetic, someone positive. A person who loves you is not supposed to make you feel bad constantly. Love is not supposed to hurt. Some people might get upset by this because they think that means that everyone is toxic, because these are very common behaviors. Yes, you may occasionally have one or a few traits that might pop up from time to time because you have an issue that you haven't worked out yet. But I'm not talking about occasionally. I'm talking about this is their personality, how they behave most of the time. Emotional vampires, narcissists, psychopaths, etc. Here's the takeaway. Take responsibility for your life. Take responsibility for your feelings. Arrogance is toxic. Entitlement is toxic. You can do better. Yes, we are all imperfect, but we actually can take power over our lives and change for how we want to change for the better. And excuse my voice. This is my first time this morning, talking for this long, so excuse my